Today we're going to look at combining polynomials. We're going to start off with the hardest, which is division, and then do some addition and subtraction. So when dividing polynomials, to combine them, not solve for a variable, but simplify, we first need to flip. So we're going to keep our left side of x squared minus x minus 12 over x squared plus 5x plus 6 the same. When we flip, we change our division to a multiplication. We change our denominator to our numerator. So now it's x squared plus 3x plus 2 over our numerator, which now becomes our denominator of x squared plus 6x plus 5. In order to simplify when combining, so now we've flipped, and we're now going to factor. So we're going to factor our numerator and our denominator. In reviewing factors, factors are two sets of parentheses, or a binomial. When we combine them or distribute the numbers through FOIL, we then get this quadratic. So I'm going to start with x squared minus x minus 12. I know an x times x is x squared. Because these are both negative, I'm going to make a minus and a plus. I know that 4 times 3 gives me a product of 12, and 3 minus 4 gives me a sum of negative 1. So I'll put my 4 here and my 3 here. Again, x times x gives me x squared. With a plus and a plus, my operation will be plus plus. I need a product of 6 with a sum of 5. I apologize for the dog in the background crying. So there's 3 times 2, which is 6, and 3 plus 2, which is 5. So I'll put a 3 and a 2. Keeping my multiplication, factoring again, with our two sets of parentheses, x, 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 x. This is a plus and a plus, so my operations in my parentheses are plus. My operations here are also plus. I know that I need a product of 2 with a sum of 3. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. I know that to have a product of 5 with a sum of 6, I need to say 5 times 1, and 5 plus 1 is 6. Now I'm simply going to look at this and say, what can I cross out? Because if it's the same as the numerator and the denominator, they cancel each other out. So x plus 3 and x plus 3 will cancel each other out. Just like x plus 1 and x plus 1 will cancel themselves out. I'm left with x minus 4 over x plus 2 times x plus 2 over x plus 5. I know when cross multiplying, I'm also canceling out, so I'm going to cancel out my x plus 2 and my x plus 2, leaving me x minus 4 and x plus 5. We're now going to look at some subtraction and some addition. Just like in elementary school when we worked with fractions and needed a common denominator, we also need a common denominator when combining polynomials through addition and subtraction. The easiest way to do this is by multiplying our denominators. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 over x minus 1 and 3 over 4x plus 3. I'm going to multiply 6 over x minus 1 by this denominator of 4x plus 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top. And for this problem, I'm going to take x minus 1 and multiply the numerator and the denominator. I am left with 6 times 4x plus 3 over x minus 1 and 4x plus 3, and 3 times x minus 1. And to keep this looking the same, I'm going to use the x minus 1 and the 4x plus 3. It's easier so that it looks the same. We are not combining or factoring out our x minus 1 and our 4x plus 3, but we are going to distribute the 6 to the 4x plus 3 and the 3 to the x minus 1. So I know that 6 times 4 is 24x, and 6 times 3 is plus 18, over x minus 1, 4x plus 3, minus 3 times x is 3x, 3 times negative 1 is minus 3, over x minus 1, 4x plus 3. I have to remember with this negative, though, that it needs to go to the 3x and the minus 3. So I'm really saying 24x minus 3x, which is 21x. And I'm saying 18, a minus and a minus become a plus. So I've distributed it here, making a minus, and distributed it here, making a plus. And 18 plus 3 is 21 as well. And I keep my denominator as x minus 1 and 4x plus 3. I'm going to look at this last one, which is adding. But I have x squared minus x minus 6. And before I can do anything with it, I need to factor this bottom out. So I'm going to put my 2x, and I'm going to put 2 sets of parentheses. I need a product of 6 with a sum of negative 1. I know x times x is x squared, and with 2 negatives, I need a minus and a plus. I know that 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So my 3 and my 2. As you can see, I have one part of a common denominator, so I need to add an x plus 2 over here. In order to do that, I'm going to take 6 with the x minus 3 and multiply the numerator and denominator by x plus 2. This now gives me 6 times the quantity of x plus 2 over x minus 3, x plus 2. I'll distribute my 6 to my x and my 2. I'm going to bring it up here with a plus sign and say 6x plus 12 over x minus 3, x plus 2. I'm now going to combine my like terms of 2x plus 6x, which is 8x plus 12 over x minus 3 and x plus 2. Now try some on your own.